You said yes again today, didn't you? Maybe it was small, covering a shift, agreeing to a dinner you don't have the energy for, or telling someone it's fine when it wasn't fine at all. Or maybe it was something bigger. Maybe you rearranged your entire week around someone else's needs and didn't even notice you were doing it, because that's how automatic it is. If you're a woman over 50 and you've spent your whole life making other people comfortable at the expense of your own truth, this episode is for you. Because people-pleasing after 50 isn't a personality trait. It's a survival pattern. And tonight we're going to look at it together. Not to judge it, not to fix it. You're not here as the mother or the wife or the woman who holds it all together. You're just being you. Take a deep breath with me. In through the nose and out through your mouth. Good. Tonight we're beginning something new, a two-part conversation about one of the most important survival patterns I see in women our age. The pattern of saying yes when we mean no. The pattern of people-pleasing. And I want to start by saying something that might surprise you. This pattern, it keeps you safe. It was never a flaw. It was intelligence. The kind that develops when a girl learns early that she needs to come second. Let me tell you what I've come to understand about people-pleasing, both from my own life and from the women I've had the privilege of walking beside. People-pleasing is not about being nice. It's not about being generous or kind or selfless. Those are beautiful qualities, and they're not what we're talking about tonight. People-pleasing is what happens when a girl grows up in an environment where her emotional and physical safety depends on keeping other people calm, comfortable, or pleased. She learns at a cellular level that the safest thing she can do is monitor the room. Read the energy. Anticipate what's needed before anyone has to ask. And she gets extraordinarily good at it. She learns to read the room the way other people read a book, fluently, instinctively, and without effort. She knows when her mother's mood is shifting before her mother does. She knows exactly what to say to diffuse tension, or to make someone laugh, or to turn a dangerous moment into a manageable one. And she carries this skill into every relationship, into every job, every friendship she ever has. So good, in fact, that by the time she's 50, she may not even recognize it's a pattern anymore. It just feels like her, the way she is, the way she's always been. She might even call it strength. And in some ways, it was. It got her through childhood. It got her through difficult relationships. It helped her navigate workplaces and friendships and families where speaking her truth would have cost too much. And here is what I know about survival patterns. And I know this from my own life, not just from books. A pattern that saves you at 7 can suffocate you at 50. The very thing that keeps you safe as a girl can become the cage that keeps you from yourself as a woman. So tonight, we're not here to condemn the pattern. We're here to see it, because you cannot change what you cannot see. And most women have been running this pattern so long and so automatically that they've never actually looked at it straight on. Let's talk about where people pleasing lives, because it doesn't just live in your choices, it lives in your body. It's the tightness in your chest when you're about to say something honest and you swallow it instead. It's the way your shoulders creep up towards your ears when you're in a room full of people and you're scanning, always scanning, for what everyone needs from you. It's the exhaustion that doesn't make sense. You sleep 8 hours. You didn't do anything extraordinary, but you're depleted because you spent the entire day managing other people's emotional experiences without ever being conscious of it. In the alignment method, we talk about the 4 bodies: the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical bodies. People pleasing touches every single one. Physically, it shows up as tension, fatigue, and burnout. That bone deep emotional exhaustion that so many women over 50 carry. Emotionally, it shows up as resentment you can't quite name, or a sadness that doesn't seem attached to anything specific. Mentally, it shows up as the constant calculation. Will they be upset? Did I say something wrong? Am I doing enough? And spiritually, this is the one that breaks my heart a little. Spiritually, it shows up as loss of your own voice, your spiritual intelligence, that deep inner knowing that tells you what your truth is. It gets buried under that for decades because you're attending to everyone else's truths. You may have had moments in the middle of a conversation or driving alone or laying in bed at night where something inside you whispered, "This isn't what I want. This isn't who I am." And then the moment passed and you went back to managing, back to performing, back to the version of yourself that everyone else recognizes. Those whispers are your spiritual intelligence. And the fact that you can still hear them, even faintly, even rarely, means something essential in you has survived intact. The return is not about building something new. It's about clearing away what was never yours to begin with, so the truth underneath can finally breathe. I want to share 5 signs that people pleasing may be running your life. And I don't share these so that you can diagnose yourself or add another item to your list of things to fix. I share them because awareness, honest, compassionate awareness, is always the first step to any return. The first sign, you feel responsible for other people's emotions. Not empathic, responsible. If someone in the room is upset, something in you believes it's your job to make it better. You carry their feelings as if they were an assignment given to you at birth. The second sign, you say yes before you've checked in with yourself. The yes comes so fast, it's almost a reflex. It leaves your mouth before your body's had a chance to weigh in. And sometimes hours later, you feel the weight of a commitment you never actually wanted to make. The third sign, you have difficulty receiving. Compliments feel uncomfortable. Help feels like a burden you've placed on someone else. Being cared for, truly cared for, brings up a vulnerability that can feel almost dangerous. The fourth sign, you are exhausted by social situations that, on the surface, should be enjoyable. Dinner with a friend leaves you drained. Family gatherings require a recovery day. Not because you don't love these people, but because you're performing the entire time. And performance is costly. The fifth sign, the one that often goes unnoticed the longest, you have lost track of your own preferences. What do you actually like? What do you actually want? Not what you should want, not what you should like, not what should make things easiest. What is true for you? If that question feels hard to answer, the pattern may be deeper than you think. There's a piece of this pattern I want to name because I have lived it myself. And because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I call it the chameleon effect. And it goes beyond people pleasing into something even more fundamental. It's the loss of a consistent self. And here's what I mean. The people pleaser doesn't just say yes to things she doesn't want to do. Over time, she begins to shapeshift. She becomes a slightly different person depending on who she's with. She adjusts herself, her opinions, her tone, her energy, even her sense of humor to match whatever room she walks into. And she does it so seamlessly that no one ever notices, including herself. With her colleagues, she's efficient and agreeable. With her family, she's warm and accommodating. With her friends, she mirrors whatever energy they bring. She is a social genius, really. And the cost is that she has no idea who she is when no one is watching. Let me say that again, because it matters. She doesn't know who she is when no one is watching. If you've ever had the experience of sitting alone in your house, finally free from every obligation and feeling, lost, not relaxed, not relieved, just empty and uncertain about what to do with yourself, that is the chameleon effect. That is the woman who has been so many versions of herself for so many people that the original got misplaced somewhere along the way. And this is what I mean when I talk about the return. It's not reinvention, not becoming someone new, but becoming home to the woman who was there before all the performing started. She is still there. I promise you, she is still there. If you're listening to this and something in your chest got tight or your eyes are stinging a little, I want you to know that response is recognition. Your body is telling you it knows this story. And I want you to hear me say this clearly. You are not broken. You are patterned. You learned this way of being because it was the smartest thing you could do at the time. It was your intelligence meeting your circumstances. But you are not that girl anymore. You are a woman who has survived and built and held together more than most people will ever understand. And you are allowed to set this pattern down. Not all at once, and it's not tonight, but gently over time with your own two hands. I think the hardest thing about people pleasing is that it looks so generous from the outside. People describe you as thoughtful, reliable, the one they can always count on. And part of you, a real part, loves being that person. But there's another part. The part that lies awake at 3 a.m, the part that feels a quiet anger she can't explain, the part that wonders, sometimes in the middle of a crowded room, does anyone in here actually know me? That question, does anyone know me, is the cost of this pattern. Not the dinner you didn't want to go to, not the favor you shouldn't have agreed to. The real cost is the slow erosion of your own presence in your own life. And for women over 50 who have been running this pattern for decades, who have been finding themselves again and again in the same cycle of overgiving and quiet resentment, the cost is cumulative. It's not one moment, it's 10,000 moments. And at some point, the body says enough. That's often what brings women to this work. Not a dramatic crisis, just a quiet, bone-deep knowing that says, I cannot keep living like this. Before I leave you with something to carry you into sleep tonight, I want to say this. You are not the only woman sitting in her car in the driveway for 10 extra minutes because the silence feels like the only honest place in your life. You are not the only woman who has smiled through an entire dinner while something inside her was screaming. You are not the only woman over 50 who has looked in the mirror and wondered where she went. There are so many of us, so many women who learn to perform their way through life and are only now in this season beginning to ask, what if I just stopped pretending? That question is not a breakdown. That question is the beginning of a return. And you are exactly where you need to be. So here is what I want to leave you with tonight. It's not homework, not an assignment. It's just a seed. Sometime this week, when someone asks you for something, anything, even something small, I want you to pause just for a breath before the yes comes out, before the calculations begin. Just pause and notice. What does my body want me to say? You don't have to act on it. You don't have to say no. You just have to notice. Because noticing is how we begin to find ourselves again, 50 years of attending to everyone else. And here is what I want you to trust. The noticing itself is the work. You don't have to be good at this. You don't have to get it right. You just have to be willing to pay attention to the part of yourself that has been waiting so patiently for you to turn towards her. She is not angry with you. She is not disappointed. She's just ready to hear you. Ready for you to come home. And next week in part 2, we'll talk about what happens after we start to notice. We'll talk about learning to hear your own no and how to honor it without burning your whole life down. To the woman who said yes today when she meant to say no, I see you. And I want you to know that your yes was not weakness. It was survival. It was love. It was a girl doing the very best she could with what she had. But you're not that girl anymore. And the woman you're becoming, the one who pauses, the one who listens to her own body, who is learning to live intentionally. She doesn't need to say yes to be safe. She is already safe. Rest well tonight. I'll see you in the next episode.